श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जाय, श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जू की जाय। नित्य प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद शतर शत शिशिमार भक्तिवेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जाय। नित्य प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद शतर शत शिशिमार भक्तिवेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नित्य प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अशतर शत शिशिमार भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जाय। नित्य प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद शतर शत शिशिमार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नित्य प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद शतर शत शिशिमार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जाय। नित्य प्रविष्ट महाभागवत श्री गोक्षर बाबाजी महाराज की जाय। नित्य प्रविष्ट श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जाय। नित्य प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री रघुनाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जाय। श्री रूपानुग गौरी गुरु वर्ग की जाय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ शार गोसाई प्रभु की जाय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जाय। नाम चाय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जाय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय। सर्व अभिष्ट विरत गिरिराज महाराज की जाय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जाय। श्री मोन देवी गंगा देवी की जाय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जाय। गोपेश्वर महादेव की जाय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जाय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ओं विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीश्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायणेति नामिने। नमो ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनेति नामिने। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तरभक्ताय नमो नमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। शृण्वतं स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तन हृदन्तस्थो ह्यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतम्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञाय राधे त्वां नायमां चरणान्तिकम्। भक्त्या विहीन अपराधलक्षाय क्षिप्ताष्टकामादितराङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वां शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दम्। भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, Indira Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Prajumna Prabhu, Mantra Murti Mataji, Raseshwari Mataji, Haribo. Nectar coming up. So today's going to be a short reading. I don't know, Prajumna Prabhu, about if like whether it's commentary by Gurudev, Srila Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, or Srila Puri Goswami Maharaj on Akruraji's prayers. Yeah, I don't know, but something that we could read is, because today's going to be a very short reading. Yeah, I'm guessing we'll end at 8:20. That's my guess. Let's see what happens. But we could read my like from the Vrajmandal Parikrama book about Patrol, or is it Akrura Ghat? So yeah, let's check. Yeah, we can check that out. One second. Let's just read first. Actually, let's check this out now. Akrura Ghat. Okay, let's read this from the Vrajmandal Parikrama book. Akrura Ghat is situated 4 miles north of Mathura and 1 mile south of Vrindavan. Nearby is Akrura Gaon. Shri Krishna and Baladev were seated on Akrura's chariot as Akrura was bringing them from Nandagaon to Mathura. By the way, this is from the Vrajmandal, my Gurudev's Vrajmandal Parikrama book. So as he's bringing them from Nandagaon to Mathura, Akrura stopped the chariot at this place and, leaving Krishna and Baladev on it, went alone to bathe in a deep pool in the Yamuna and perform his other regular morning duties. Akrura remained in the water to chant the mantra of his worshipful lord Sanatan Brahma, four-armed Vishnu, and meditate on him. On this day, however, instead of having darshan of his worshipful Sanatan Brahma in his meditation, he saw the forms of Sri Ram and Sri Krishna. Akrura became confused. He came out of the water and looked towards the chariot where he saw Ram and Krishna sitting. Again, when he went into the water and dipped in it, he saw them there also. He was now fully confident that Sri Ram and Sri Krishna were truly the complete Sanatan Brahma. Gaudiya Goswamis have given an excellent philosophical conclusion and explanation of this incident. Nandanandan Sri Krishna and Rohini Nandan Sri Ram never leave Vrindavan to go elsewhere. Therefore, Nandanandan Sri Krishna and Rohini Nandan Sri Ram only came with Uddhav as far as he only came with Akrura as far as Akrura Ghat, which marks the line of demarcation between Mathura and Vrindavan. Thereafter, they both remained in Vrindavan in their unmanifest and their aprakat forms. It was Devaki Nandan or Vasudev Nandan It was Devaki Nandan or Vasudev Nandan Sri Balaram and Devaki Nandan or Vasudev Nandan Sri Krishna that traveled on the chariot with Akrura from Akrura Ghat to Mathura and performed pastimes there. According to Tattva, Yashoda Nandan and Devaki Nandan are actually one, but from the viewpoint of Ras, there is a difference between them. Once Nanda Baba was observing Akadashi without even drinking water. That very night also was the start of Dwadashi. Nanda Baba entered the water of the Yamuna to take bath, but because on that day there was anyways, that goes on to that pastime. And Varuna took. Oh, also, Akrura got when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Vrindavan from Jagannath Puri via the Charikanda path, there was no settlement in Vrindavan, only a deep forest. At night, Mahaprabhu would reside at Akrura Ghat, and at dawn he would sit at Imlitala Ghat on the bank of the Yamuna in Vrindavan. Being overwhelmed with prema, Mahaprabhu would chant Harinam there until the afternoon. An uninterrupted stream of tears flowed from his eyes, and brightly shining Ashtasattvic transformations were evident on the limbs of his body. Sri Balabhadra Bhattacharya was the only person with him at that time. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita's narration of this pastime melts the heart. Yeah, that's interesting though. Like, why was it Akrura Ghat? Mahaprabhu, it's like the two places of separation. Well, kind of, yeah. He spent time at Imlitala, where Radharani was absorbed in where Krishna was absorbed in Radharani, like feeling separation, and his complexion changed. And also at Akrura Ghat, where Krishna left Vrindavan. So it's just interesting, huh? Completely full of separation, two places. All right, so let's continue now from here. Okay, so we just read a summary of this. Maybe we don't need to read it again. Holding the spectacular, I'll just read it anyways. Akrura's chariot arrived at the bank of the Yamuna. Akrura entered the water to take bath. While chanting mantras, he suddenly saw Krishna and Balaram in the waters. Surprised, he came out and saw both of them were sitting in the chariot. When he re-entered the pool, then he saw Ananta Shesh with thousands of heads, receiving praise from the Siddhas, Charanas, and Gandharvas. He then saw the Supreme Lord lying on the lap of Shesh, being worshipped by Nanda, Sunanda, the Kumaras, Brahma, Rudra, the demigods, devotees, Prahlad, Narad, and others in their unique moods. All his material and spiritual potencies were with the Lord. Beholding this spectacular vision, Akrura experienced ecstatic symptoms. He bowed his head, and with a choked-up voice, he offered prayers to the Lord. Revealing his delusion as a materialist and praying for his deliverance, he expressed his humility. Finally, he surrendered himself to the Lord's lotus feet. By the end of the day, Krishna, Balaram, and Akrura reached Mathura. Okay, so that's what we're reading from now. Should I go to the beginning of Akrura's prayers? We have plenty of time since we have such a short reading today. So, Akrura's prayers. Sri Akrura said, well, let's do the last verse here. As the great devotee Akrura beheld all this, he became extremely pleased and felt enthused with transcendental devotion. His intense ecstasy caused his bodily hairs to stand on end and tears to flow from his eyes, drenching his entire body. Somehow managing to steady himself, Akrura bowed his head to the ground. Then he joined his palms in supplication and, in a choked voice with emotion, very slowly and attentively began to pray. For his prayers, he said, I bow down to you, the cause of all causes, the original and inexhaustible Supreme Person Narayan. From the whirl of the lotus born from your navel, Brahma appeared, and by his agency, this universe has come into being. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, and its source, false ego, the Mahat Tattva, the total material nature and her source, the Supreme Lord's Purush expansion, the mind, the senses, the sense objects, and the senses presiding deities. All these causes of the cosmic manifestation are born from your transcendental body. Total material nature and these other elements of creation certainly cannot know you as you are, for they are manifested in the realm of dull matter. Since you are beyond the modes of nature, even Lord Brahma, who is bound up in these modes, does not know your true identity. Pure yogis worship you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by conceiving of you in the threefold form comprising the living entities, the material elements that constitute the living entities' bodies, and the controlling deities of those elements. Brahmins who follow, Brahmins who follow the regulations concerning the three sacred fires worship you by chanting mantras from the three Vedas and performing elaborate fire sacrifices for the various demigods who have many forms and names. In pursuit of spiritual knowledge, some persons renounce all material activities and, having thus become peaceful, perform the sacrifice of philosophical investigation to worship you, the original form of all knowledge. Yet others, those whose intelligence is pure, follow the injunction of Vaishnava scriptures promulgated by you. Absorbing their minds and thought of you, they worship you as the one Supreme Lord manifesting in multiple forms. There are still others who worship you, the Supreme Lord, in the form of Lord Shiva. They follow the path. They follow the path described by him, and interpreted in various ways by many teachers. Mhm. All these people, my Lord, even those who have turned their attention away from you and are worshiping other deities, everyone is in fact actually worshiping you alone, O embodiment of all the demigods. Okay, so that's where we read up to. Yatadri Parjanya Purita Prabho Vishanti Sarvata Sindhum Tadvat Tvam Gatayon Tata. Let me just check. I forgot to check the mic. Let me see if it's working. Harivo Suryavididi Dandavat Pranam. Let me check this mic. Yes, it's on. As rivers born from the mountains and filled by the rain flow from all sides into the sea, so do all these paths. So do all these paths in the end reach you, O Master. Sārārtha-darśinī commentary by Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura. Krishna objects, but if they are worshipping me, then they should achieve me. Akrura, no, it is not like this. The worship goes to you, but those worshippers do not attain you. You have stated this yourself in the Bhagavad Gita 9:23-25. Ye pyanyadevata bhakta yajante shraddhayanvita tepi mam eva konteya yayantya vidhi purvakam aham hi sarva yagyanam bhukta cha prabhureva cha nattu mam abhijananti tatve chavanti te yanti deva vrata devam pitrin yanti pitri vrata bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti madhyajinopi mam. Those who are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship only me, the son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way. I am the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. Therefore, those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature fall down. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. And those who worship me will live with me. Akrura. I am also saying the same thing with an example. The raging rivers which are born from the mountains are formed from the water raining upon the mountains from the clouds. The rivers then flow down in all directions and ultimately enter the sea. Just as the rivers flow into the ocean, but not the mountains which generate the rivers, so the worship of different paths goes to you, but not the worshippers. This means that because you are the super soul within them and the shelter of the demigods, the worship of them goes to you. Worship of them is worship of you. As the clouds come from the ocean, so the Vedas come from you. The various types of worship coming from the Vedas are the water and the worshipper. As the clouds come from the ocean, so the Vedas come from you. The various types of worship coming from the Vedas are the water, and the worshipper is the mountain. Just as many rivers flow from many places to enter the ocean, So the various types of worship of different worshippers flow from the demigods to Vishnu. Sattvam rajastama iti bhavata prakriter guna teshu hi prakrita prota abrahma stavaradhaya. Goodness, passion, and ignorance, the qualities of your material nature, entangle all conditioned living entities, from Brahma down to the non-moving creatures. Commentary. Krishna replies, if that is so, then why doesn't everyone worship me? Akrura answers in this verse. Akrura prayed, all living entities are bound by the three modes of nature. If even Brahma is bewildered by Maya, then what to speak of all the humans? Therefore, how can they worship you? Tubhyam namas uh, Tubhyam namaste tvavishakta drishtaye sarvatmane sarvadhyang chashakshine guna pravaho yam avidyaya krita pravartate deva nritiryagatmasu. I offer my obeisances to you, who, as the supreme soul of all beings, witness everyone's consciousness with unbiased vision. The current of your material modes, produced by the force of ignorance, flows strongly among the living beings who assume identities as demigods, humans, and animals. Commentary. Akrura prayed, I offer my obeisances to you for the purpose of achieving you. You show your mercy only to your devotees, and do not turn your attention to the worshippers of other deities. Krishna. How then can you say that I accept worship of the demigods, since one who receives worship from persons becomes inclined toward them? Akrura. Since you are the underlying basis of everything, Sarvatmane, you receive all worship offered by various persons, but you do not become obliged to them because they do not worship you directly. Although you dwell in everyone's heart and witness everything they do, you remain aloof in all circumstances. Krishna. Well, can the demigods deliver their worshippers? Akrura. Ignorance and the force of the modes of nature influence the demigods, humans, animals, and birds to assume false bodily identities. Since the demigods are also subject to the three modes of material nature, how can they deliver their own worshippers? Agnirmukam te vanirang ikshanam suryo nabho nabhir ato disha shruti dyaukam surendras tava bhavornava kukshir marut prana balam prakalpitam romani vriksho shadaya shiroruha megha parasyasti nakhani te draya Nimeshanam ratrahani prajapatir medrastu vrishtis tava viryamishyate. Fire is said to be your face, the earth your feet, the sun your eye, and the sky your navel. The directions are your sense of hearing, the chief demigods your arms, and the oceans your abdomen. Heaven is thought to be your head, and the winds your vital air and physical strength. The trees and plants are the hairs on your body, the clouds, the hair on your head, and the mountains, the bones and nails of you, the Supreme. The passage of day and night is the blinking of your eyes. The progenitor of mankind, your genitals, and the rain, your semen. Commentary. Akrura prayed, furthermore, all these demigods are your limbs when you assume the Vairaja Rup, a form of Brahma for creation of the universe. Therefore, worship of the demigods is actually worship of you. Tvaya vyayatman purushe prakalpita Loka sapala bahujiva sankula yatha jale sanjihate jalokaso pyudumbare va mashaka manomaye. All the worlds with their presiding demigods and teeming populations originate in you, the inexhaustible Supreme Personality of Godhead. These worlds travel within you, the basis of the mind and senses. Just as aquatics swim in the sea, our tiny insects burrow within an udumbara fruit. What's an udumbara fruit? Anyway, so that's not going to be in the commentary. Krishna said, "But if this is true, then the worshippers of demigods are also my worshippers. The worshippers of the demigods are also my worshippers. It was seen from the previous verse that the worshippers of demigods are also my worshippers. The scripture also says that those who worship me surely come to me. How do you say that the demigod worshippers do not come to me?" Akrura. The worlds with the demigods and countless living entities move about within your universal form, like small insects living in the udambara fruit or aquatics in the water. What is that form? They move within your form composed of material elements such as mind and earth. O Lord, whose body is indestructible, avyayatma. By this it is understood that those who worship your original forms, which are eternal and full of knowledge and bliss, Satchidananda, are your true worshippers. The universal form, the Vairaja Rup, on the other hand, is your temporary illusory form, not your original personal identity, not your Swarup. Therefore, those who worship the demigods, who are limbs of that universal form, are not your worshippers. Thus, it is correct to say that those who worship the demigods go to the demigods, not to you. Such is implied by this verse. Yani yani harupani kridanartham bibharshihi tar amrishta shucho loka muda gayanti te yasha. To enjoy your pastimes, you manifest yourself in various forms in this material world. And these incarnations cleanse away all the unhappiness of those who joyfully chant your glories. Commentary. Krishna said, But then which are my original forms? Akrura answers this verse. For the sake of playing and to give mercy to the conditioned souls, you appear in this material world in various forms, such as Matsya, who crossed the ocean, or Hayagriva, who killed the demons Madhu and Kaitava. Thus, people glorify these eternal forms of yours and become free from ignorance, illusion, and sadness. Namakaranamatyaya pralayabdhi charaya cha hayashirshne namastubhyam madhukartabamrityave akuparaya brihate namo mandaradharine Kshittudhara viharaya namashukkaramurtaye. I offer my obeisances to you, the cause of the creation, Lord Matsya, who swam about the ocean of dissolution, to Lord Hayagriva, the killer of Madhu and Kaitab, to the immense tortoise, Lord Kurma, who supported Mandara mountain, and to the boar incarnation, Lord Varaha, who enjoyed lifting the earth. Commentary. Anticipating, Krishna might ask, what are those forms? Akrura describes those forms in 6 verses. These verses 17 to 22. Akrura prayed, I pay my respects to the eternal form of Matsya, who swam about the ocean of dissolution enjoying his pastimes. The word Karan, which means whose form is the original cause of creation, implies the eternal nature of Krishna's form, and should also apply to all the forms mentioned in the following verses. After this, you took the form of Hayagriva to kill Madhu and Kaitab. I offer respects to the Lord in his form as Kurma, who held up Mandara mountain. The Vishwakosh dictionary states that the word Akuparaya indicates the king of tortoises. Namaste Bhuta Singhaya Sadhu Loka Bhayapaha Vamanaya Namastubhyam Krantatri Bhuvanaya Cha. Obeisances to you, the amazing lion, Lord Nrsimha, who remove your saintly devotees' fear, and to the dwarf, Vaman, who stepped over the three worlds. Namo Bhrigunam Pataye Dripta Kshatra Vanachide Namaste Raghuvaryaya Ravananta Karaya Cha. Obeisances to you, Lord of the Bhrigus, who cut down the forest of the conceited royal order, and to Lord Ram, the best of the Raghu dynasty, who put an end to the demon Ravan. Namaste Vasudevaya Nama Sankarshanaya Cha Pradumnaya Niruddhaya Sattvatam Pataye Namah. Obeisances to you, Lord of the Sattvatas, and to your forms of Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradumna, and Aniruddha. Namo Buddhaya Shuddhaya Daitya Danava Mohine Lecha Praya Kshatra Hantre Namaste Kalkirupine. Obeisances to your form as the faultless Lord Buddha, who will bewilder the Daitas and Danavas, and to Lord Kalki, the annihilator of the meat eaters posing as kings. Commentary. Akrura glorified the incarnation of Buddha as Shuddhaya, pure or faultless, even though he promulgated teachings which contradicted the Vedas. Bhagavan jivalokoyang mohitastava mayaya ahang nametta sargraho brahmyate karmavartmasu. O Supreme Lord, the living entities in this world are bewildered by your illusory energy, becoming involved in the false concepts of I and my. They are forced to wander along the paths of fruitive work. Commentary. After praising the Lord, Akrura now reveals his delusion and the plight of those wandering along the path of fruitive work. Aham chatmatmajagara dharartha svajanadishu brahmami swapnakalpeshu mudha satya dhiya vibho. I too am deluded in this way, O Almighty Lord, foolishly thinking my body, children, home, wife, money, and followers to be real, though they are actually as unreal as a dream. Anityanatmadukeshu viparyaya matiryaham dvandvaramastamo vishto na jane tvatmana priyam. Thus mistaking the temporary for the eternal, my body for myself, and sources of misery for sources of happiness, I have tried to take pleasure in material dualities. Covered in this way by ignorance, I could not recognize you as the real object of my love. Commentary. Akrura elaborates on his foolishness in this verse. Those with a backwards mentality think the temporary fruits of action are eternal. The body is the soul, and the miseries of house and home are bliss. Such fools continually suffer the dualities of happiness and distress in this world. Because I am covered by ignorance, I cannot realize that you are the dearmost beloved of my soul. Yata buddho jalam hitva pratichannam tarudbhavai abhyeti mriga trishnang vai tadvat tvaham parang mukha. Just as a fool overlooks a body of water covered by the vegetation growing in it and chases a mirage, so I have turned away from you. Commentary. Akrura then illustrates the previous point with an example. A foolish man will give up water which is covered by grass and run after a mirage. In the same way, due to ignorance, I abandoned you who appear covered by Maya. Sorry. So in the same way, due to ignorance, I abandoned you who appear covered by Maya, turned away from you, and turned toward my material body. Notsahe ham kripanadhi kama karma hatang mana rodhum pramatibhishchakshar hriyamanam itastata. My intelligence is so crippled that I cannot find the strength to curb my mind, which is disturbed by material desires and activities, and constantly dragged here and there by my obstinate senses. Commentary. Akrura prayed, I cannot control my foolish mind, which is being pulled by my powerfully agitated senses. Due to my crippled intelligence, I cannot even gather the courage to try to check my rascal mind. Soham tavangrupagato smasatam durapayam tachapyaham pavar. Oops, I did the wrong meter. Soham tavangriupagato smasatam. No. Soham tavangriupagato smasatam durapam tachapyaham pavar anugraha ishamanye. Pungso bhaved yarhi samsarana pavargas tvayabjanabha sarupasanaya matisyat. So I did that wrong. Being thus fallen, I am approaching your feet for shelter, O Lord, because although the impure can never attain your feet, I think it is nevertheless although the impure can never attain your feet, I think it is nevertheless possible by your mercy. Only when one's material life has ceased, O lotus-naveled Lord, can one develop consciousness of you by serving your pure devotees. Only when one's material life has ceased can one develop consciousness of you by serving your pure devotees. Commentary. Akrura prayed, though what I have said about myself is true, I surrender unto you. This surrender is hard to attain for the impure, but it is surely possible if I receive your mercy. If Krishna asks, when will you get my mercy? Akrura replies, O lotus-naveled one, when one worships your pure devotees, consciousness of you develops. Krishna, when will that happen? Akrura, when a person's material life is finished. Krishna, and when one is Krishna, and when is one's material life finished? Akrura, when he receives your causeless mercy. By this reasoning, first there is the causeless mercy of pure devotees, followed by the beginning of the cessation of material life. Then, by serving pure devotees, one develops Krishna consciousness. This sequence has been described previously. Namo Vijnana Matraya Sarva Pratyaya Hetave Purushesha Pradhanaya Brahmane Nanta Shaktaye. Obeisances to the Supreme Absolute Truth, the possessor of unlimited energies. He is the embodiment of pure transcendental knowledge, the source of all kinds of awareness, and the predominator of the forces of nature that rule over the living being. Commentary. Akrura surrenders himself to Krishna's lotus feet in two verses, verse 29 and verse 30, this verse and the next. Akrura prayed, I will be able to understand you in proportion to how much realization, how much vigyan you give me. You are the source of all knowledge. You are the source of all knowledge as well. And you are the supersoul, the Purush, inspiring all activities. As time, you control everyone and give the result of action. As Maya, Pradhan, you bind up the living entity, and as the supreme absolute truth, Brahmana, you liberate them. As Bhagavan, Ananta Shaktaye, you give us devotion to yourself, and thus your work is complete. Okay, so now here's the last verse of the chapter. Namaste Vasudevaya Sarvabhuta Kshayaya Cha Rishikesha Namastubhyam Prapannam Pahimam Prabho. O son of Vasudev, obeisances to you, within whom all living beings reside. O Lord of the mind and senses, again I offer you my obeisances. O Master, please protect me, who am surrendered unto you. Commentary. Akrura prayed, O Rishikesh, please protect me. Please engage my mind and senses in your service, so that they do not become attached to my wife and sons. Thus ends the commentary on the 40th chapter of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, for the pleasure of the devotees, in accordance with the previous acharyas. So I predicted that we would finish reading at 8:20, and it's 8:18. I was 2 minutes off. That's still pretty close. So next chapter, we're going to read about Krishna and Balaram entering Mathura. Let's read a little bit of this. Let's just start this. And then, so Krishna and Balaram enter Mathura, chapter 41. Shri Shuka Uvacha Stuvatastasya Bhagavan Darshayitva Jale Vapu Bhuya Samaharat Krishna Nato Natyam Ivatmana. Let me just check everything's. Haribo Madhusudan Prabhu and Kargarajji Dandavat Pranam. And Yashoda Didi. Haribo. Oh, that is missing. Sorry, I missed that. That was previous. Okay, so Shukadeva Goswami said, while Akrura was still offering prayers, the Supreme Lord Krishna withdrew his form that he revealed in the water, just as an actor winds up his performance. Commentary. In this chapter, Krishna goes to Mathura and enchants the womenfolk. After killing the washerman, Krishna awarded the cloth weaver and the garland maker named Sudama. After showing his majestic Vishnu form to Akrura in the Yamuna at Akrura Ghat and receiving Akrura's prayers, Shri Krishna withdrew that vision just as an actor winds up his performance. Krishna made that form disappear without asking Akrura. This disregard for Akrura is expressed by the use of the sixth case, tasya, which expresses informality, instead of the second case, tam. Sopi chantarhitam vikshya jalar unmajya satvara kritva chavashakam sarvam vismito ratamagamat. When Akrura saw the vision disappear, he came out of the water and quickly finished his various ritual duties. He then returns to the chariot, astonished. Tam aprachad drishikesha kim te drishtam ivarbhutam bhumau vyatito yeva tatatvam lakshayamahe. Lord Krishna asked Akrura, have you seen something wonderful on the earth, in the sky, or in the water? From your appearance, we think you have. Commentary. Seeing the astonishment on Akrura's face and in his eyes, Krishna asked him, it appears you must have seen something very amazing, for your eyes are wide with wonder and full of tears. Shri Akrura Uvacha Arbhutani hayavanti bhumau vyativa jale tvai vishvatmake tani king me drishtam vipashyata. Sri Akrura said, "Whatever wonderful things the earth, sky, or water contain, all exist in you. Since you encompass everything, when am I seeing you? Since you encompass everything, when I am seeing you, what have I not seen?" Commentary. Krishna has shown me all his opulences. That's from the 2 chapters ago, verses 44 to 55. Ascertaining this from Krishna's question, Akrura speaks with gleeful discrimination. Whatever wonderful things there are on earth, in the sky, or in the water, all exist in you. Seeing you before me, what more remarkable sight remains? Rather, everything is indeed seen. Yatradbhutani sarvani bhumau viyati va jale tam tvanu pashyato brahman kim me drishtam ihadbhutam. And now that I am seeing you, O Supreme Absolute Truth, in whom reside all amazing things on earth, in the sky, and in the water, what amazing things could I see in this world? What's left to be seen? Commentary. Akrura said, "What was amazing was not all the things I saw within you, but that form which contained everything. I am gazing upon you, within whom all amazing things exist. There are many amazing things on the land and in the water, but I realize that your form standing before me is more amazing than all things of the universe. The form I see here is thousands of times more amazing than the sight of Vaikuntha with Sankarshan and all of Narayan's attendants. O Brahman, you are the supreme absolute truth, the Lord of all lords. By your mercy, my foolishness of thinking that you are simply my nephew has disappeared." Ityuktva chodayamasa syandanam gandhini sutta mathuram anayadramam krishnam chaiva dinatyaye. With these words, Akrura, the son of Gandhini, began driving the chariot onward. At the end of the day, he arrived in Mathura with Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna. Commentary. Gandhini Sutta means the son of Gandhini, Akrura. Marge grama janarajangs tatra tatropasangata vasudeva suto vikshya prita drishtim nachadadhu. Wherever they passed along the road, O king, the village people came forward and looked upon the two sons of Vasudeva with great pleasure. In fact, the villagers could not withdraw their eyes from him. Commentary. Seeing Krishna and Balaram passing on the road, the people could not take their eyes off them, and they became completely stunned. Tavad vrajokasastatra nandagopadayo grata puro pavanamasadya patikshanto vatastire. Nanda Maharaj and the other residents of Vrindavan, having reached Mathura ahead of the chariot, had stopped at a garden on the outskirts of the city to wait for Krishna and Balaram. Commentary. Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men waited for Krishna and Balaram in a garden outside the city of Mathura. Not being able to keep up with the swift chariot of Akrura, Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men had given up the main road and taken a shortcut. Thus they arrived earlier. Besides, Akrura was delayed because of bathing in the Yamuna. Tam sametyaha bhagavan akruram jagarishvara grihitva panina panim prashritam prahasan iva. After joining Nanda and the others, the Supreme Lord Krishna, the controller of the universe, took humble Akrura's hand in his own and, smiling, spoke as follows. Commentary. While seeming to smile, Krishna spoke to Akrura with humility. Krishna smiled in order to please Akrura, but internally he was full of grief on seeing the city of Mathura because of remembering his beloved Vraj. Okay, so we'll see what Krishna said and what ensued after this. Tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandhar Vikagiri Dhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Vigyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki Jai Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai Nitil Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Srila Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj ki Jai Nitil Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura ki Jai Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai Shri Rupa Nugagoriya Guru Varga ki Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shara Goswami Prabhu ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki Jai Namachay Shri Ras Thakur ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaur Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund ki Jai Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi ki Jai Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Jai Shri Bhakti Devi ki Jai Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki Jai Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Jai Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavataya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Indira Mataji, I couldn't agree with you more. The pastimes, Vrindavan pastimes were way too short. It's sad that they're over. I think maybe the day after tomorrow I might be doing an all-day parikrama. Never mind. I think we'll leave later, so I'll still be able to read. And Pradyumna Prabhu, what's that book? Loving Stones Making the Impossible Possible and Worship of Mount Govardhan by David Haberman. Recommended by Brigupad Prabhu. Interesting. Share with me. So you can send it to me on WhatsApp. All right, everybody. See you all tomorrow for what happens. We'll see what happens in Mathura. All right.